The train has left the station and there is no holding back. Tampa is changing, but is it for better or for worse? To answer this, we have to understand how things are changing and where we are headed. And there's nobody better to discuss this with than our very own mayor. You won't want to miss this because she is giving us great insight into Tampa's transformation, along with what its future might look like. Stay tuned. For anyone looking to understand what Tampa is all about and a sort of behind the scenes look at where the city is headed, this video is loaded with information you won't get anywhere else. The mayor and I discuss everything from our newest developments to what keeps her up at night, including some of our most popular concerns like traffic and transportation, housing and affordability. But I felt it was best to start by asking our mayor, Jane Castor, what makes Tampa such a special place to call home and what makes us so different from all the other cities in Florida.
Well, I'm probably a bit biased in that area because I was born and raised here, but I do a fair amount of traveling around the United States and to other countries. And I tell you, the one thing about Tampa is that it's that welcoming, friendly feeling when you get here. Tampa is a big city with a small town feel. And when people come here, whether they're moving their business, their family, they're coming to visit, as soon as they arrive, they feel like they're a part of the community. And that's one of the reasons I ran for this position, is that as we grow as a city, I'm going to do all I can to ensure that we keep our history, our culture, and that community feeling that is unique to the city of Tampa.
I think she took those notes out of my book. I always tell folks.
I was watching before, you know.
Oh, okay. I always tell folks on my channel exactly that. It's like, we're we're a growing city and almost this cosmopolitan feel now, right? Like we're transitioning that way. But the old traditions, from our Gasparilla Parade to our, even small little Rock the Park concerts and just the cafes. And I can go into any cafe just about any day of the week and see the old timers talking about old Tampa and even some of the newer topics. And it's like almost everything happens in those little quarters. So it's great to hold on to that. I've also, as we talk through some of these developments and talk about Tampa today, I always say how family oriented it is. And, I do a lot of traveling. I just got back from Michigan for 2 weeks and we went out west and out of all the cities, and even when somebody says, hey, I'm looking to move to Florida, I watched all your videos, what makes Tampa stand out? And I personally think it's one of the most well-rounded cities in all of Florida because of the different lifestyles that we can offer. The melting pot of people, the cultures, the diversity. I mean, it's like it's all choices, and everybody loves having those choices, and you can literally choose the lifestyle that you want right here. So yes,
and also other cities, when you look, I always talk about our diversity, and what sets us apart from other cities that may be diverse is the way everybody lives together. You can go to Miami and it's, this particular neighborhood, this neighborhood. Tampa, everybody lives together, and I think that is very important. Also, one of the things that I hear from businesses that are moving their headquarters here or expanding into Tampa is that the majority of their team members, are in late 20s into their 30s, and they're looking for a place that they can call home, a place that they can raise a family. And that's what sets us apart from other cities like Miami. If you want that 24 hours, 7 days a week, that kind of fast-paced vibe, then Miami may be the place. But you can find that fast pace here when you want it, but you can also find the family atmosphere, the welcoming nature of everyone, the diversity. You can find all of that here in Tampa as well.
It's funny when someone says Tampa and it's like 20 minutes east, 30 minutes east, you have pastures, you have cattle, right? You have strawberry fields. And then you can go to the beach 30 minutes the opposite way. And then you can go and say South Tampa or downtown and you have that really like metropolitan life, like, we're in a different city now, right? It looks completely different than it did 10 years ago. And so you can choose that pace of living, right? So yes, that's one of the most special things about Tampa.
Not to mention we have the greatest airport in the world.
We do.
And that also, when you think about that, a lot of people, I go through other airports. I'm actually on the board, and I'll call Joe Lopano and talk about these other airports. But that's sort of the welcoming mat for your community. And when you come in to Tampa International Airport, it's so easy, no stress, very welcoming, whether you're coming or going through that airport. And I think that says a lot about, sort of sets the tone for our community, for those people who are coming in by air.
Yeah, I think it's the last 2 years we've been ranked like number one large airport in the country.
But you know what Joe's probably as proud of is that we've also been named as having the cleanest bathrooms in the airport.
That's a nice thing to have, right?
It is. It's the little details that he thinks about every day.
And it really is one of the easiest ones to get in and out of.
Right.
And that's what you want after a long flight. Right. You come home, you're like, I just got to get home. It's easy to get in and out.
Yeah, you never run into those, those huge congestions, just people. Like there's a particular airport, won't mention any names, Charleston, Charlotte, where I call that the ant farm because everybody's running into each other trying
rushing
to get
around.
to. Right, and in ours, that hub and spoke, you take a shuttle out to your airside and there's just rarely crowds, no stress. It's just a wonderful environment.
And one thing I've heard since we're on the topic of airports is that people used to fly in and then they'd go straight to the beaches. So many people have told me that are moving, that are not from here, have said, I've been to Tampa multiple times, but it's usually to go to the beaches or to visit somebody. I really don't know much about Tampa.
Right.
And that's where I said, okay, go to my channel.
Yeah.
You're going to learn everything you need to know and you're going to really love it. And now the conversation has started to change. It's not so much flying to the airport, go to the beaches. It's fly in and enjoy Tampa, enjoy the Riverwalk or enjoy our downtown or go to all the events that we have, right? It's kind of endless things to do.
Yeah, and that's one of the benefits that we have as a region. I tell people that, I'll go places and people will introduce me as the mayor of Tampa Bay. And I'm like, well, it's kind of a body of water. But, having St. Pete, Clearwater, Tampa, each of us have unique characteristics. I mean, Clearwater is always in the top 10 world's most beautiful beaches. St. Pete's got the eclectic downtown museums, cultural scene, and Tampa's a big city that really, brings all of that together. And so, when you're promoting the Tampa Bay region, it's an easy sell.
Oh, it absolutely is. And I mean, it's an endless things to do playground for us locals. And I always say it's like, this is paradise living here. If you take advantage of
That's what I say too.
What it has. I've had many people tell me, oh, Tampa's boring. You're going to have everything in the comments.
Right.
Tampa's boring. I said, did you just stay indoors?
I know.
Because almost year round, we can get outside and just enjoy something.
Everything.
And it doesn't have to cost you. There's endless free things to do anywhere in our region. So absolutely.
It is. It's funny. I'll drive around and, there'll be a big event in a location. I'm like, how did I not know about this? I'm the mayor. But there is always something going on in our city. And the celebration. That's one of the things with our diversity and the way everybody in our community comes together to address issues, which I know we're going to talk about, but also the way we come together to celebrate that diversity, celebrate our history, celebrate the different cultures, celebrate our sports teams. It really is wonderful.
I almost always say that Tampa celebrates everything.
I know.
And it's like Margarita Festival,
it's Wednesday.
Cuban Sandwich Festival.
Yeah.
And on our Instagram, every week we post things to do, right? And it's just funny because even me, right? I'm surprised. I'm like, hey, honey, what do you want to do this weekend? I'm like, well, hold on, let me check my Instagram again. And I look up and every weekend there's a major concert, a major event, a sporting event, a festival of some sort. I just feel like we look for excuses to celebrate in a positive way.
That is true.
It's every weekend, you're just looking forward to the weekend. Like, what's next?
You have to enjoy life.
You can tell the mayor was proud of our city and probably could have gone on and on about what makes it so special. But in recent years, Tampa was put in the spotlight, attracting a ton of new residents and visitors. And part of what makes Tampa the new shiny object was our newest developments. I wanted to talk about those developments, but also understand what ripple effect this might have for our community. It's a delicate balancing act to keep everything in sync. And so let's take a look at what she shared.
A couple of things, we sort of missed that boom that we saw in some other cities, Charlotte, Austin, Nashville, But now we have the opportunity to learn from some of the issues that they faced from that growth. But one of the fortunate things for us is other cities may see lot comes open, high rise goes up. We are creating entire neighborhoods all over the city of Tampa. If you take West Shore, Andrew Wright, what he's reimagining the West Shore area down there, other developments going on at the mall. So that entire neighborhood there, coming over to West River, and the old North Boulevard homes are gone. We're on our 7th tower. That is the future of our community, where you have everything from affordable housing all the way up to market rate, everybody living together. Again, that really is the future of our community. Coming into the downtown area, what my predecessor, Mayor Bob Buckhorn, did with creating a dynamic urban core in downtown Tampa. He used to joke that the majority of the residents in downtown lived at the Morgan Street jail, which unfortunately was true. That's gone.
It was a 5 o'clock check out of work, and then it was kind of a ghost town downtown. Now it's
very, very vibrant.
The place to be almost.
Yep. And then looking at Tampa Heights, with Armature Works and everything, all of the growth that is going on there, Midtown, one of those we call the 5-minute neighborhood, where you can get anything that you want right there in that location. And that was, they had goals, they had expectations in Midtown, and they surpassed those so quickly. It was unbelievable. Apartments sold out, condos sold, retail, rented, hotels, everything. And coming to Water Street, first of its kind, community, well-certified community in the nation. And that, sometimes you walk around in Water Street and you're like, where am I? But it really is incredible down there. Then going into Channelside was a warehouse district. And now that has just been reimagined. And what Daryl Shaw is going to do in Ybor City, turn that into residential, retail, entertainment in that area as well. And one of the things I think that we're very fortunate to have here in our city, I don't know if it's completely unique, but I would imagine so, are the developers that come to our city or reside here. Very thoughtful about what they do in the community. It's not coming in to make a dollar in our city and then leaving. They are a part of the community. When you look at what Jeff Vinnick has done, Daryl Shaw, Andrew Wright, George Perez, even from Miami, coming up here, he says it's his second favorite place. But I had a conversation with him, and he said, Jane, I've done business all over the world, and I've never seen a city with the potential that Tampa has.
Yeah, they're thinking past the initial development.
Right,
as well.
the initial. Yeah. So, and again, being able to create those neighborhoods, I think is a unique opportunity for us.
So from what I'm hearing is, and I can see it, is like you said, it's like West Shore, and then you have Midtown, and then you have the Heights, and then you have downtown. So now we're creating these sections of Tampa that are popping up that are all attracting really the same people, but it's almost like you get I don't say a taste of Tampa, but it is true. It's like you can come here and get that and that. And they're all different and unique, just like our neighborhoods, but yet it's just like little pop-up areas. And then eventually it'll grow off of that depending on how that turns out, I imagine. Yeah. And I do want to talk about getting around to those eventually.
Okay, good.
Transportation, because that is a big question mark, right? That's a whew.
It's a big issue.
But the downtown, Water Street, all that area. It has been a game changer for us. I could tell you that personally, I did a video, it was like the perfect 24 hours in Tampa. And that was one of my best date nights with my wife recently. A lot of times people talk about downtowns on these big cities. They're like, is it dangerous? Can you go out at night, or can you do this? And that always looks different to everybody. I can't ever say, oh yeah, it's safe. But we were out 10, 11 o'clock at night. And we had no plan. It was like, we had an automatic babysitter. We had to take advantage of this. A lot of times we like to cross Seminole Heights. This time we're like, let's just go downtown. And I had done a video about it and explaining it to her. She's like, let's try it out. So we had no reservations. We just hopped, went to the Pearl, went to Boulan, went to all the different places, even walked the Riverwalk to the Marriott and just sat outside with live music. And the Columbia Cafe, like literally just hopping around. So now the conversation is expanding to gasworks opening up,
Right.
and Ybor Harbor, and then just wrapping around and connecting to Ybor, which would be nice, connecting all that and making more walkability. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, without a doubt.
And so that's going to further just expand that downtown. And all of these things are developments that, again, are attracting people to Tampa.
Right.
More people, because now it's getting more exciting and more events. I think the Emily, didn't they just, I saw an article that said they have more tickets sold than some of the, I guess, more than in most venues in the world.
Oh, really?
I think it is, or something like that, for different
Probably
events.
because
For different events.
Stanley Cup winning
Yes,
Lightning.
yes. It's the Lightning, it's the concerts.
The concerts, all the events.
So
that
there's
they
no
have there.
question that area is blowing up. And I think the developments are changing what a lot of us see Tampa as,
Right.
and it's exciting.
Yes. That's like you just said that usually you go and hang out in Seminole Heights. That's my neighborhood. I've lived
Yeah.
there for 43 years, and now it's the hip place to be.
Yeah.
Clearly, I had nothing to do with that hipness, but it's got an amazing restaurant scene and art
Yeah.
scene, and
And it has its own
to
vibe.
see that transition. Yeah.
And the community feel that you have there, though,
Yes.
is very connected. Front porch parties and
I
all
know.
these things.
That is. It is.
And it doesn't matter the restaurant you go to, they're all very welcoming. And
Right.
certain ones, like the front porch, it has its own clientele. And then I actually took my daddy-daughter date to Rooster in the Till.
Oh, yeah.
And the
Award-winning?
chef saw that, right? And the chef saw that I had the only kid in there, right? And so we're sitting up there, and he's like, "You ever tasted caviar?" And he brings it up to us, and he's like, her eyes lit up as the chef came out and talked to her. So very neat, and you're going to see that, that community's thriving as well. So I love seeing all that, all the different parts of Tampa. Talking about the new developments, I can't leave this out because those are the fun developments.
Right.
I was reading through articles and things that you're doing, and it's the overhaul of the Tampa's drainage system, because that's
Right.
part of it, right?
The infrastructure.
That's a big
Yeah.
thing for you, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be, everybody on the city team says I'm going to be remembered as a wastewater mayor, which is okay with me.
That's right.
It's those things that, they get ignored for years, as one mayor told me. The reason that nobody's paid attention to the infrastructure is you don't see a ribbon cutting for new sewer pipes. So
Right.
I've done ribbon cuttings for new sewer pipes. But really ignoring our infrastructure that's 80 to 100 years old, water, wastewater pipes, a lot of our stormwater, roadways, those types of things are critically important. You have to have a very strong foundation on which your city can successfully grow. And so we, as soon as I took office, we passed almost $3 billion water, wastewater replacement plan. And so we've been working on that diligently for almost 5 years now. So exciting things, and that I could talk about all day. It really is fascinating, the technologies, the way that we can do that in the least invasive way possible, but exciting. Stormwater as well. Those are invasive when you're bringing in, these giant connectors that are 12 foot by 12 foot. But, ensuring that as we grow, that we're paying attention to that foundation.
Yeah. And it's better to
is
catch it as soon
important.
as you can than
Right.
down the
Yeah,
road,
we pay,
potentially.
people don't realize this, but we spend millions of dollars every year just in responding to water main breaks, wastewater leaks, those types of things. And so making sure we have an assessment of all of our roadways, the condition, all of our water, wastewater, stormwater, so we know what needs to be replaced, and we're checking off those replacements as quickly as we can.
We're updating some of the pretty stuff, right? And then things under the hood as well.
Right, yeah, we're taking a look underneath the hood and replacing that as well. And you think about those things, it's like you spend money on a new roof at your house. You're not bringing people over going, "Oh, everybody outside, I want to show you my new roof."
Right. I had to caulk the windows too.
Right, but it's important.
I'm glad that we are not only focusing on the new fun developments for our city, but also addressing some of the dated issues Tampa needs. The other day, I read an article that showed over 700,000 people migrated to Florida last year, and around 500,000 migrated out, netting just over 200,000 new residents to our state. Many of these folks came to Tampa, and you will hear local rumblings like, "Don't move here, we are full," or "Don't New York our Tampa." Well, I asked locals what they meant by this, and they said New Yorkers have always moved here, so that's not new. They just don't want people from all over our country fleeing their states and their cities' issues and bringing them here. As long as they come to enjoy and preserve our Tampa culture, there's really no issues. I actually believe that the mixed bag of residents and cultures we have here in Tampa is what makes us so unique. And when they mentioned we are full, well, they're referring to how much busier things are, and including our traffic and roadways. This next part is very interesting and gave me some great insight into what our roadways might look like soon.
That's it's interesting because transportation, having come from a law enforcement background, you kind of get thrown a set of facts, you make a decision, and you move on. And then I met transportation. Transportation solutions. If you look at any kind of development, transportation and the schools are always what lags behind because of the cost, because of what it entails. And that's just something that people don't really want to spend money on until they're stuck in traffic, and then they want it done yesterday. Yeah. And so unfortunately, we lost the all for transportation, which I'm not certain I'll ever get over, that penny sales tax, which really would have allowed us to not only fix our roads, but to address those transit issues that we need. I always joke that mass transit in the South is more than two people in an SUV. Mm-hmm. So, people, we like those big roads, yes, and those big interstates, but that's not, that isn't the answer to transportation. The holdup is the funding, and we have ideas for that. We're looking at a federal program right now. It's not just, providing those solutions. We did at one time have the entire city, before the advent of the automobile, the entire city was connected through electric streetcars. And then, once the automobile came, why do you need that antiquated form of transportation? And now we're trying to bring it back as quickly as we can. But our streetcar from Ybor through Channelside to Water Street is second most ridden streetcar in the nation.
We broke 1 million
Kansas
rides
City,
this year.
1 million riders. And the key to that is to make it free. A lot of people talk about, the paying for transportation. Well, transportation has never been paid for through, you have some tollways, those types of revenue generating forms of transportation, but they don't pay for themselves to be built. And so we're looking at extending the streetcar, making sure that it does stay free to come all the way from Ybor, Channelside, Water Street, through downtown Tampa up to Armature Works, Tampa Heights, and then back down around. And that actually has been in the works since I became mayor. So you're talking about 5 years, and we have yet to get it, to break any dirt on that, but we're moving.
Is it true that up Florida, I think it's up Florida to Palm, right? That there's already the setup for that, is that right? Like they already have the space for that on the road?
There's the space is there for it, but that's, that's just a very small part of it. It's doing the environmental, laying those tracks down, all of the stops, you have to ensure that you're creating those with all accessibility in mind. So we are working on that, and hopefully once it gets moving, it'll move rather quickly. But also looking at alternate forms of transit. One of the things that's going to take off are the e-bikes. Those can go, which is kind of frightening. They can go 30, 35 miles. As an avid cyclist, yes. I've crashed at 26, and it is not fun, right? Looking at that complete streets where we have the wider, well-lit sidewalks, we have segregated bike lanes, and then taking those 4-lane roads down to 3, lane in each direction with a turn lane in the middle. Because if you have a 4-lane road, whenever anybody's making a left, it becomes 3 lanes, right? So you put that turn lane in the middle, you can still handle the volume of traffic while making bike lanes. So we're trying to connect our entire city, and we're doing that. An example would be the Riverwalk on the west side of the river. Clearly our Riverwalk has been an incredible success. Now putting it over on the west side, which we're getting ready, the contract is going through city council in the near future, but it's not just going to be a tourist attraction or a form of entertainment. It's going to be a transit way. It's going to be a way for people to get to work, because it's not only going to go along our river, it's going to connect a number of different neighborhoods. South Tampa, West Tampa, coming down Columbus, the new Rome Yard, downtown Tampa, Armature Works, Tampa Heights. It's going to be almost 13 miles of connecting neighborhoods. And from that, we're branching off with connections out into Seminole Heights, connections westbound going across the Courtney Campbell Causeway that'll take people all the way to Clearwater, going into East Tampa. So we have the plans for that. We just have to keep building. And it's not a lack of initiative, it's a lack of the funding. And if we had kept that all for transportation, we would be so far ahead. But it is what it is. But again, looking for some of the mass transit solutions, but also those solutions that not only help get people from point A to point B quicker, like electric bicycles, but also taking the cost of a vehicle off of someone's budget plate, because that, as you well know, is the second largest slice. So with our rising housing costs, if we can take transportation off of somebody's plate, there's more money to go towards housing.
Other things. The piece of the pie.
Transportation right now, affordable housing is an issue. We need 26,000 affordable homes today just in the city of Tampa. But transportation is an incredibly pressing issue for us. And it's not something that we can just put our head in the sand and hope it gets better, because it's not going to get any better until we have some solutions in place.
I really like the idea of, like you said, 13 miles. That gets us around to a lot of different places for those living in the city. One of the questions I have, in a way, since we're touching on housing or real estate a little bit, is, and we'll get to affordability in 1 second, because that is definitely a big question mark on the real estate side. But we have so many people coming here, right? And so let's just say the average Joe person living in the city that is saying, okay, I need to buy a house, but I can't afford it. Or rent may be getting a little higher because, to be fair, a lot of times that happens as cities grow in larger cities, right? It's more expensive in the city. A lot of those people will live in those suburbs, maybe because they want new construction homes or that community feel, master planned feel, right? Those people getting in the city, because let's say they decide to live there but work in the city. Is there ever a plan to get people from those suburbs into the city?
Yes, we have bus rapid transit, BRT. We've looked at that. I mean, it predates my position as mayor in Pinellas County, connecting all the way from the beaches through Hillsborough all the way up to Pasco through a bus rapid transit. And with the expansion of I-275, Howard Franklin Bridge, it has room for light rail there. So I don't know if bus rapid transit is the solution, because not only do you have to provide that service, but you have to change that mindset. If you look up in the Northeast, you look the Midwest, the larger cities, buses are seen as a viable form of transportation. In the South, they're looked at what poor people use. So you have to change that culture. You have to make that mode of transit first and foremost reliable, but secondly, you have to make it more attractive. I think one of the things that's going to change this mindset to everybody having their own vehicle are the younger people that are coming here or growing up without any intention of ever owning a car. And they want to live someplace that, that they have all the services that they need, including entertainment and work, right there where they're at. Some people moving out into the suburbs, but if we can get people affordable housing near where they work and then provide some type of free transportation, that will allow those neighborhoods to grow successfully. So that is incredibly important. long range, connecting the different counties together, there's always the argument, people will say that mass transit has to be regional, and then there's equally legitimate arguments that transit starts locally and then spreads out to the region. So I think here in this community, it's going to be more of a local spreading out into the regional.
So it's almost like having multiple different transportation plans, right? Like one local, one maybe outskirts of that ring, and then even larger than that, different versions, right?
Yeah. Well, let's take a futuristic look at this. So Brightline's coming from Orlando to Tampa, and going to be down in the Ybor City area is going to be their station. So from there, you have to have a connection to our streetcar. So our streetcar is right there. You can get on that. But we're also looking at Tampa International Airport continuing their system, their transit system out to I-275 right there at Cypress. And so then coming down I-275 or Cypress, whatever it is, to downtown, and then continuing that westbound across the Howard Franklin Bridge, which now has room for transit on it, and into Pinellas County. So that is the long range futuristic, and being able to connect to our downtown with that light rail, and then take that down 275 out to USF in the North Tampa area also. So those plans are in place. Again, it's the funding for a lot of that to get it up and moving. And the fact that transportation solutions take a long time.
Yes. And I want to say, I've heard you say this before. If not, I heard somebody else say it, but let's
if
just...
it sounds intelligent, it was probably
it's probably you.
No, I'll take credit for it, but it could have been somebody else.
Going back to what I initially said, it's just such a balancing act. And it's almost like you tweak one thing here and then see what happens, and then tweak something here, and trying to sometimes do it simultaneously, but...
and then you also oftentimes will have those unintended consequences, the things that you didn't think of. Right now we're having issues, on a more micro level because of Water Street and that success, because of the success of the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Amalie Arena. The fact that our convention center is going to have the best year for conferences and conventions that they've had in their entire history this year brings a lot of people downtown. So now Harbor Island, how do they get on and off of their island? Parking, how do we get people trained? Because you know how it is. You go to the gym, everybody drives around 20 minutes to find the closest spot to go in and exercise. All of that, all of the parking issues, the transportation, getting people to move through it, the flow of traffic as well. It's all sort of a well-orchestrated dance, or I should say a dance that needs to be well-orchestrated.
And change is hard for a lot of people.
It is.
They don't want to go through it, but then finally when they accept it, sometimes it can be a good thing. Or at least they can experience it in a good way. What I was going to say though was the tax, right? Like in order to, sometimes funding, it's like maybe it comes in a form of a tax or things like that. And it's just like in a time right now where inflation's high and everything across the board costs more, from your vehicles to your homes. Is there ever really a good time for a tax? Probably never.
Ever a good time for a tax.
And as a local, I'm like, I don't want no more. But I also want all the good things. So finding that
and
balance
there are, and some taxes are more palatable than others. We have great timing is our community investment tax. That's a half-penny sales tax that has, over the first 30 years, brought just to the city right under $500 million that we use to buy vehicles for our first responders, that we use for our parks and recreation, that we used to build and upgrade our fire stations. Important issues for our community. That's coming back up for a vote for an extension. It's going to be on this year's ballot. So it'll be 15 years. Estimated for us, in half the time, it'll bring almost twice as much money to our community. And when you look at that, sales tax is estimated that anywhere from 20 to 30% of that is paid for people outside of Hillsborough County. So I look at that as free money. And, sales tax, I think, are the most palatable. And that's why the all for transportation tax was something that, one, we collected it for almost a year and nobody ever said anything because you don't think about that, and it had a ceiling on it. It could only go so high. But the collective good that does, property taxes, people don't want to raise property taxes. But if this community investment tax doesn't pass, it's not that those costs are going to go away. We just have to find that money someplace else. And for our city, that's it. Our general fund comes from property taxes for the most part.
Now, pushing that pause button here for just a second, because we started to get into affordability and I wanted to bring up the rising cost of homes and how many locals were finding it a bit harder to afford either the rent or housing costs. Our median home price in the Tampa Bay region is just over $400,000. And while I know the city is working on potential rezoning and putting other ideas like this on the table, I wanted to ask the mayor's thoughts on this subject.
It's going to settle. The costs of rent have declined about 5%, but when you compare that to about a 400% increase, it really is a drop in the bucket. But one of the things too is the inventory as it's increasing, and you have a better grip on that. But just anecdotally, driving around the city as I do every single day, you're seeing more for rent, you're seeing more for sale signs up. And also, the interest rate's going to come down without a doubt. It's not going to get down to 2-3% like it has in the past. But you talk to the older generation.
Yes.
I'm 64 years old. People were paying 12-15% on interest with balloon mortgages in the past. And so my son just bought a house, and he, with that higher interest rate, with the idea that it's going to go down. So are you going to find what you want right now at a higher interest rate and then refinance when it comes down? Or are you going to, just wait it out? But I don't see any dramatic decreases in our home prices. But, there are a lot of factors that go into that. It wasn't necessarily just the popularity and the lower interest rates. I mean, there are a lot of factors that go into the housing, the rise in the housing costs. The pandemic had a lot to do with it. I can't tell you how many press conferences I did telling people, landlords, that just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Like if you've had that home and you've rented it for this amount of time and your payments are still the same, there's no reason for you to be doubling that amount of rent. It is an issue for our community, but it's something that we are addressing through a number of different programs that we have: rental assistance, mortgage assistance, infill, just trying to make homes more affordable for our community. And the affordable housing developers, there's very few developers that will wade into that arena. And one of the ways that they can make it profitable is to be able to get the land for free. So we started a land trust where we are putting land available for affordable housing into making that available for the developers. And we've seen that around our city too. We have a goal of 10,000 affordable units by 2027, by the time that our administration is done. Will we reach that goal? Probably not, but we will be working every single day as hard as we can to be able to put a roof over the heads of our residents. We also were able to enjoy a low cost of housing for a long time. So as we grow as a city and we prosper from that, we can't pick and choose what the advantages and disadvantages of that are.
And I think over time, everything balances.
Transportation, housing, those issues are issues that come with growth.
I had so much more to ask, but I was running out of time. Up until this point, the mayor was able to give us answers to many of our concerns, but I wanted to squeeze out as much as I could. It was important for me to understand what the vision for Tampa was. And then I wanted to get a bit more personal with the mayor and ask her what her weekends as a local might look like in Tampa. What are her favorite going out spots? And as the mayor, what's something that might keep you up at night? Tampa's future. Quick version, I heard somebody say, oh, in 20 years, we might look like Boston. What do you think Tampa looks like in 20 years or 30?
We won't look like Boston. We're
Meaning size.
Right, we're
Size.
a lot bigger
Yeah.
geographically than Boston, but we are going to grow. We have over 400,000 residents, up to 1 million influx every day from commuters. Suggestion is that we will grow by 100,000 in the next couple of decades. And so we are going to grow, there's no doubt. And that's one of the reasons that I ran for this position, is the fact that the city's going to grow more than in this decade than it has in my entire life.
Yeah.
And so to be a part of that growth and to try to guide that and ensure that we're very thoughtful, very intentional, and very inclusive in our growth. Usually I'm working. Sometimes I'll get a Sunday off. I love to do, this is going to sound incredibly boring because it is, but home improvement, always something at my house. My house is built in 1929. I'm on 3/4 of an acre. So, but my favorite thing to do is to go out on my boat and to take people out on the boat. No matter when you go, it's always different. If it's early morning and the river's like glass in the bay, go out during the day, and then at night to be able to go out to dinner, see sunset, go to all the great restaurants. It's that's probably my favorite thing to do. They're probably my favorite go-to in my neighborhood is Front Porch. I'm forever, that's like such a community neighborhood restaurant with great food.
Yeah.
So that's probably my go-to in my neighborhood.
The owner's an amazing guy.
He is a great guy. He and his wife, Christy, are wonderful. And then further down, one that I just tried is across the street from my Home Depot, is a Lebanese restaurant on Florida Avenue, and their food was unbelievable. It's just incredible. Just had a Spanish restaurant open up in Cuban food open up in our neighborhood as well. So restaurants everywhere.
It's so hard to keep up with them.
And then just to be able to choose, I always say that's the beauty of diversity, is great food.
Yeah. And it just reflects from our culture and everything.
Right.
So.
One thing that keeps me up at night, I would say, is just thinking about, again, how we can grow our city to its potential. And there are just so many elements that go into that. So those are the things that really keep me up at night, how we can get all of that done in the short amount of time that we have.
Yeah. We do indeed get to live in paradise, and there's no one more proud of calling Tampa home than this guy right here. But I will tell you, our city is growing, and no doubt there will be growing pains that come along with it. That being said, I'm along for the ride, and if you're thinking of moving to Tampa because Tampa might be your cup of tea, or maybe you already live here, reach out to my team, as we would love to be your Tampa real estate team of choice. I hope you enjoyed, and until that next video, I'll catch you later.